Welcome to the Favorite Self podcast. I like to think of it not as your future self or your best self, but your favorite self. My favorite self that just makes me feel the truest version of me. What lights your favorite self on fire? I'm Carly Ottaway, founder, author, storyteller, and a woman who learned that building a successful life means nothing if it doesn't feel like yours. This podcast is for women who are building businesses, raising families, leading movements, and asking themselves, is this it, or is there more available to me? This is your invitation to come back to yourself. Let's dig in. Hello and welcome to the Favorite Self podcast. I've been waiting to say that for so long. I am so excited you're here. This is such an exciting time. I am so thrilled to be bringing this podcast to the world and to be having these conversations and to be getting just so real and raw about it. I have not even planned out what I'm going to say in this episode. I just want to come here and share my story with you, for those of you who might not have heard it or haven't heard it in this way, and tell you a little bit about what to expect from the podcast. And just to start off, this is something that is totally a comfort zone stretch for me. I've definitely come a long way, and it's cool to reflect on. But I used to be the person who was most comfortable hiding behind the keyboard. I've always loved writing since I was a little girl, playing Harriet the Spy, looking out the window of my small town, writing the life story of like the one person to walk by every hour. And this passion, I followed it throughout school and building out my career, going to school for journalism, and then ending up in copywriting and working for a marketing agency. And I loved telling other people's stories. I was so passionate about it. I freelanced for some national publications like Zoomer magazine. I had a really cool opportunity there, Canadian Business, Maclean's. I got to interview some of the coolest people. Like I'm talking internationally renowned authors, singer-songwriters, world champions, Olympians, and I absolutely loved it. I love sharing people's stories. However, along the way, I really got comfortable hiding behind their stories and downplaying my own. And to be fair, I think my story was still being written, but I also had a lot of identity work to do, a lot of blocks to work through, a lot of old conditioning around not feeling like I was enough, not feeling like my story was big enough or powerful enough, and asking myself, who would care about what I have to say? And since then, I have gone on a major journey in building and scaling my business. We are celebrating 11 years this year at Web of Words, my marketing agency. And it's also a big time for the growth of the business. And we've been through a big rebuild stage. And I'm so excited about this next era we are stepping into. And then, of course, for me as the CEO, I started the business just wanting to do what I love and write. I was actually coming off of an ultimatum that my boss had given me at the marketing agency I worked for. And I was moonlighting on the side, writing for different publications. And I remember that moment he said to me, you are going to have to choose. You can either continue to become one of the best digital marketers in the city, which was a bit of a stretch at the time, or chase the Pulitzer Prize. And it was just like such an aha moment for me. I don't also like to be told what to do. I'm an Aries. I like to go by the beat of my own drum, and that's saying it, downplaying it. And I decided in that moment that I didn't have to choose. And since then, I have built a business with a full team, an amazing, talented team of copywriters, social media managers, designers. I work with my husband. He joined the business after less than a year when I came to a bit of a fork in the road where the business was growing quickly, and I knew I had to decide if it was going to be something bigger than just me. And that's when I asked him, hey, what if we go in on this together, which was never part of the plan. But I really have come to realize that sometimes the best plans are the ones that aren't written down, the ones that really just fall into place the way that they're meant to. And so we joined forces. He had the bigger vision to grow the team, which was a huge part of allowing us to eventually grow our family. We had the business first and then had our kids. We have 2 kids, a 7-year-old daughter and a 4-year-old, almost 5-year-old son, and have been just able to completely build our life by design. And I'm so grateful for how naive we were. I say this often, how naive we were at that time, and we had no idea what we were in for. But I think that's part of it. That's part of why you never really feel ready and you haven't grown into the person that you need to be to get where you're going. And that's why so much of entrepreneurship is really about the journey and becoming that person, that leader, that CEO, that visionary who is going to call in that next vision, that next level. And I've been doing a lot of inner work lately, especially last year when I took a major leap and finished writing my book and then published it, which was what an incredible year 2025 was, but also such a massive stretch. I loved the writing part of writing my book, but it was also so fun I say fun lately, but it brought up so much inner work for me. I was really processing so much of my story as I was writing it. I was really in the messy middle when I started writing it, and I'll share more of this on future episodes. But I'm so grateful that I wrote in that time in my life and didn't let that hold me back, didn't let it stop me that I didn't know the ending yet. I didn't know the how. It was a span of a few years until I finally held it in my hands from when I really officially started. But it was a childhood dream. I remember as a kid knowing and wanting to be an author and write my own books one day. So it felt pretty incredible. And then there was the journey of publishing, which was such a massive visibility stretch and being seen in a whole other way and sharing my story so vulnerably. But that experience, put me in the client seat again and reminded me of all the growth that comes with sharing your story that way, and also let me tap into a creative side of myself that I hadn't allowed myself to tap into in so long, in this really long form creative writing and creating art ultimately, which felt so freeing. And I felt so in alignment, and I absolutely loved it. I can't wait to write the next one. And all of that has brought me here with you, talking to you right now and starting this podcast where I feel like I'm returning to my journalism roots. I'm so excited to have some incredible guests on this podcast and to dive into their stories and their favorite selves. So just to give you a little bit more information on the podcast and what to expect, the reason I call this the Favorite Self podcast is because it is a term describing an identity that means so much to me. I never really resonated with best self. Best self always felt so performative, and that's a version of me that I've worked really hard to move away from, the version that felt like I constantly had to prove myself. I had to hustle to define my worth, and my worth was defined by my achievements. Whereas future self also just felt so far off. It tended to cause a lot of anxiety that I was never doing enough. I was never far enough. I couldn't ever reach that point. And I really wanted to focus on being present with where I was and who I am now. And so Favorite Self was inspired from conversations we'd have around the dinner table with our kids, asking what their favorite part of the day was. And then it was a piece of how they were showing up as their favorite self. And it just instantly resonated with me so much, because to me, your favorite self is who you are when you feel most aligned, most alive, and really in that flow state, which to me, flow state is when you are living your purpose and it's aligned with something bigger than you. And you are really trusting in yourself and trusting in something bigger than you. And that's the journey that I have been on. That's where I love helping clients really tap into their true authentic purpose and then show up and be seen as her and share her story with confidence, with clarity, and really stepping into that favorite self identity. And that's what we're going to be doing here. So we're going to be having all the conversations around identity shifts. We're going to talk storytelling, of course. We're going to talk entrepreneurship and leadership, motherhood, parenthood, all of my favorite things on the Favorite Self podcast. And I can't wait. Thank you for listening to the Favorite Self podcast. If this episode stirred something in you, there's a reason for it. You could take a moment to share with a friend, someone who's also building something brave. That would mean so much to me. Better yet, leave a review. It helps this message reach even more women who are ready to lead differently. And before you go, remember this. Your favorite self is already within you, waiting to be heard. See you next time.